Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. On this Friday morning for me, wanted to discuss just in brief some of the things I went over in yesterday's live, which was a good one, a long one, very passionate, and talk about a few of the things that are ongoing, Sancho, sales, midfield injuries, the Shield, and more. Let's get straight into it. I'm going to keep this video pretty brief in case there's more to discuss later on, as there's quite a bit developing with United at this point in time. Sorry to be mysterious. I'll explain as we go. With regards to Jadon Sancho, reason I wanted to bring this one up first was there's more from Duncan Castles, who again put was the first to link us to Sander Berge and a few others, and he said, of course, and we saw from Fabrice Hawkins as well and a few others, that PSG have been in these talks up to the point of getting to a price on Jadon Sancho. Now, we kind of know this. We've talked about this on video and in a few things over the last couple of weeks, that he would join there. Like I've said before, it's not a situation where they wouldn't sell Sancho or that he wouldn't leave at this point in time, and it's all, sunshine and daisies. But United aren't going to give him away. They will want to keep him unless they get a really good fee for him, because they're not going to pay him to play somewhere else. So wages would have to be done. It'd have to be a deal where wages are covered and they get good money for him. He would be open to the move. He'd be happy to go. Again, Phil made a decent point on Monday in talking about him is he may not be a player who at this point in time, in terms of confidence, that feels like still he's going to be able to earn a place in, and you can kind of understand that even if he's been brought back into the fold. Surely everything that's happened, I don't think anybody would look and say, yeah, anyone would see that a player might have some doubts about whether they're going to, have a future in this team with everything that's gone on. So, of course, everyone is open to a new start somewhere else as well, and has been. But at the moment, it's really about the price. United, again, someone's going to have to offer that's going to cover the wages that they're not going to have to do the payoff, and that big fee. They're not going to take 10 million. If you think about it, they paid, if you understand why, they paid 72 million, I think it was, in the end for him 3 years ago. Can't believe it's been 3 years and how it's all worked out, but 72 million, and that equates to 14 million a year, if my math is right, just over 14 million a year. That means they have about 30 million remaining on his deal. That's what they need to get, is over 30 million pounds, 40 million euros. That's why that's the price, in order for someone to sign him. They do not want to take a loss on Jadon Sancho, and they think he could be a valuable asset. But of course, again, because of everything that's gone on, everyone is open to him leaving. So they've had those discussions with PSG, but PSG would really have to pay up the money. Now, will it happen? I'm still leaning towards no at this point in time, because I don't think they're prepared to pay those kind of funds. I don't think they're committed to signing him in that way, and I don't think United are totally keen on loaning him with an obligation, maybe, but it would have to be, again, at that 40 million mark, and you'd wonder, well, why wouldn't PSG just do it now? If it was an obligation, they should have money, except is one way they could get some more money, and that's Ugarte. So I'm not sure that this will happen, but it certainly is under consideration. With Sancho, it's kind of it's open, because he's there, he's fine, he's happy to play, wants to continue, so to the club. But all of them would say, yeah, if there's somewhere to go and they offer money, then you can go as well, and that has been the case the whole time. And I mentioned Ugarte because the other thing Duncan Castle said, which confirms everything we were talking about up through Monday until Ornstein's release on switching targets, he said even through last weekend, United were confident that they would get Ugarte. He has been the top focus. He has been the top target, and all of that for the last month or so or longer on the midfield. And what he detailed in there as well was that United offered 50 million euros, and that they were surprised that PSG, after Neves and everything and some of the earlier indications, were sticking to the 60 million euros price. So United obviously can get a midfielder in, wanted to get a midfielder in, and were willing to pay a fair bit of money to get a midfielder in. That's good news, right? But it also demonstrates this new, this way of operating in terms of the cost and valuation. They walked away from really their top choice, over 10 million euros, because it's just about setting that standard. Now, could PSG come back and say, okay, fine, we'll give them to you for less? They could, and perhaps a Sancho deal would tie into that, where they'd say, okay, fine, let's work out a proper arrangement for everybody. And I think we over a month ago we talked about that could potentially work in everyone's favor to do something like that. I think there's a chance. United are still in contact. They're not like walked away, we're not going to sign this player, don't come talk to us, PSG type of thing. They're looking at all the alternatives and starting discussions with them in earnest. This isn't just a BS tactic, but at the same time, that's how you actually do negotiate properly. You can't just threaten to walk and threaten to have alternatives and then not have them. You've got to actually have them. Otherwise, it's just a bluff. And they do have them, and they do have people they're talking to. But if PSG call him up and say, okay, listen, fine, you can take him for 50, or what about a 45 plus 10 or something like that, I think United would come back to the table. And there's still a chance that happens. But it would have to happen before they move on to sign another midfield target. So yeah, it's good. This is good stuff. This is a good way of operating. I really like Ugarte, but what I like even more, and I do really like, is them having a proper way of approaching the window with signings and things like that, to not overpay, and not pay above their valuation and stick us in more trouble later. So good operations there. In terms of the midfield, obviously this opens up for, there are other signings potentially plausible, other names that we've talked about in the past. Yeoman, still a name they admire, but I don't think is one financially that works this summer. João Gomez is still a name that they've looked at, but also might be a bit expensive at Wolves, who somehow Chelsea just bought Pedro Neto from. I cannot honestly believe that, after all the stuff Chelsea are doing. Other names, obviously, that are a bit more realistic in terms of pricing, there's Fofana. Joey Veerman was also linked by Castles, and I think is an interesting one to take a look at, because there's interest there. And then Sander Berge. I talked about Sander Berge on the live yesterday, and one of the things I shared is that I'm still checking this out, but that there was some indications from me, from a pretty decent source somewhere, closer to the player side, that he was thinking this transfer might move ahead. Now, that's not always the best source of information. People talk and do stuff. That's why I say I'm want to verify it more on a different perspective, from a club perspective, because players talk and it can be a little bit rumory, and it's not that solid. But the source itself is very solid. It's very, very, very solid. So I'm sure that that's happening in terms of him maybe feeling that way, or starting to feel like it might happen, but it takes more than that to be sure that a transfer will occur. So it's just one I'm strongly keeping an eye on, because from my side, it's the only solid piece of info I got in terms of who we might pursue or might be working on in the alternative. There has been contact with Burnley, and there has been contact with the agent and the player, or people, not the player, but around the player. There's some talk of it maybe happening. So there's a little evidence building in that direction, but I would like to have more solid stuff there for sure, in terms of whether this goes through. I think it's a good idea. I discussed it, reviewed it a bit in general yesterday, went over stats, compared what type of player he is. Similar to Ugarte in possession. Out of possession, more calm, more of a sitter, and very good in the air. So good player, very interested in what moves forward here, but we'll also see if PSG come back to the table, especially with talks occurring or discussions or things still alive on Sancho as well. On the injuries and center backs front, so obviously this complicates things, like our overall goal. When you look at what United wanted this window, the midfield we know, the striker we know, we understand the whole replacement right back for Wan-Bissaka leaving, who's running out of a contract. At center back, we wanted a left-footed center back and a right-footed center back. We got a right-footed center back in Lenny Yoro. Now, of course, he's out for a few more months. But and then we know, like, we continue to have kind of be involved in De Ligt. Now, of course, there's the whole cost thing in terms of what they're not, that you can see they're willing to walk away over 10 million euros, right? So they're 10 million apart on De Ligt right now, too. At least. I think it's maybe even a little bit more. Bayern would need to come down, same as PSG would need to come down. In addition to that, I think Maguire will be fine. I think Lindelof will be fine. With Shaw, I made a correction because I said, look, at the guys who were on the tour, Lindelof, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, I know they're mostly precautionary and they should be fine. With Shaw, him being out, we don't actually know. He might be injured. We don't actually know he isn't. We with the tour guys, it's a different thing that I can't really explain, but it is different. With Shaw, he wasn't on the tour. We don't know. And I expect we'll find out soon, but it sounds like it's unlikely he'll be at the Community Shield. Who knows? We know he's already had a historically poor injury record, right? And one of the focuses for United was, of course, to have a left-footed player with left center back and a left back. Because of this issue with Shaw and because Lissandro had missed a lot of time and all of that, and just because we don't have another real left footer. Even doubts about Shaw start to me, maybe change and shift the focus again, because we've seen that they have wanted a left-footed center back or someone to cover left-footed center back and left back. It's been reported many times. We know that it was a priority. And even the doubts about Shaw, I'm curious to see if it starts to shift things again to say, okay, look, we just have to get somebody on the left side now who can cover left back and left center back. We just have to. There's a link this morning to Hermoso at Atletico. I haven't had a chance to see whether there's anything in that or not. Not at Atletico, because I think he's a free agent now. But he fits that, right? Same as Hanchko, a left center back, left back. There was a thing yesterday, Alphonso Davies is for sale. 30 million, I think was the price quoted, which seems like a crazy value. I'm just saying, why not? That I'm looking at that and thinking, if there are doubts about Luke Shaw already and things are starting to get iffy, you have to buy someone for the left side. Now, maybe you could say Mazraoui could cover it if we still sell Wan-Bissaka. Mazraoui could cover it for a little while, cover it when Shaw is out, but then you don't have coverage on the right for Dalot to rotate, and then you're giving a bigger risk for him to get injured. So I don't know what the thinking will be here. I don't know if this will change things. I suspect that concern over Luke Shaw, if there is already, and his fitness, whether it's an injury or not, may be adding some further impetus to the argument of, hey, we should go for a left-sider, and that they shift the focus at center back to a left-sider and a left back. Yeah, there's that's what I think will happen, frankly. I think it's more likely that that the focus shifts just based on everything we've kind of known and heard and what the priorities are. It was a priority. There being some concern already, I think will push things in that direction. So I will kind of suspect that, it's Friday. We haven't got Mazraoui in. Now we know that's because of Wan-Bissaka, which I'll talk about in a minute. And we haven't made a new offer for De Ligt. And that makes me feel as though, just based on everything going on in the info, that maybe it's not that viable yet. I mean, far be it for me, they could make a bid in 2 hours and we'll get the exclusive that it's done. But does it solve the left side if there is an issue there? No. And I wonder, and I do have to wonder, that it's causing more of an argument in terms of shifting the focus back to that left-sided direction and what United should do there. It's got to be a concern, right? And if it were me, yeah, I would go back to that and say, okay, who could we have targets on the left side? There's Hanchko, there's other ones. Who could we go for, and who should we go for? Let's do it. Let's put an offer there instead, and let's make sure we're covered. That's what I would do if they're not going to go big and back for Jarrod Braithwaite. Now, maybe they're thinking we don't want to spend big there because we want to be able to get Braithwaite later, but I don't know. I honestly don't know that if that comes into consideration. So, yeah, we'll see. And once this picture becomes clearer on Luke Shaw and what if there is actually an issue, then I think it'll tell us a bit more. But I'm leaning towards there being concern there. That's what I'm leaning towards at this point in time. And maybe it does shift our plans a little bit. In terms of outs, I spoke for a good half an hour explaining the Wan-Bissaka and Scott McTominay situation. Eriksen set to stay for his final year. Maguire staying. Lindelof potentially staying. Potentially. The Wan-Bissaka thing, he continues to be in talks with West Ham. It's not off, but it is still stalling essentially for all the reasons that I mentioned. Financial reasons, other reasons, concern on his side about whether he want to join. For a few different reasons versus being able to pick his own club next year. Concerns about perhaps the step to West Ham itself. There's a lot of things, and so they're continuing to work on it. Finances could probably solve a lot of this, but United aren't going to want to pay out a big chunk of any profitability that they get, especially if they need more signings. And again, I factor this in too as just, I don't know, but I wonder if there does end up being more concern over Shaw or over the left side, do you then not sell Wan-Bissaka and just spend the money on the left and then next year you do the right back? Maybe. I don't know. But maybe. So it's another thing that we'll have to answer that question. We don't know how it's going to affect it, or does it make it say, yeah, let's sell him quicker. Let's make it more possible for him to go. Let's do what we can so we can get Mazraoui in because he can cover the left. That could be the case too. I don't know yet because we don't know if this is serious or if there's anything real in this yet. I'm just speculating here based on kind of their focus and all of that at this point in time. But I think it's definitely a situation to keep an eye on. It's all very live. The whole situation of right back, left back, left center back, and who they're going for is still very much up in the air. It's still very much an active kind of discussion internally on the club side, especially based on some of the prices that are out there of who are we actually going to get here. And it's been evolving. So that is factual info that has been changing and moving and evolving, and they're still talking about it. And because, again, don't want to make mistakes, don't want to buy someone that they don't want later on, but want to know, do they have the coverage this year? And things like injuries could adjust that. I don't think Lenny Yoro's injury changes much because he's a young player, he's not injury prone, and it'll be resolved and he'll be back. If there's injuries to Luke Shaw, that would be a different discussion because then you're looking at it and saying, we can't trust this guy to be healthy this season. And you probably should be saying that already, but maybe you had some hope. If he is already injured, if he were already injured, and there actually was something more than just testing his fitness, then I think everybody would sit there and say, you know what, we have to do something about this. And that would probably change the discussion. So we'll see. The Community Shield versus City, I wanted to build this, wrong thing. Yeah, I wanted to build this out. Our expectations. Who are we going to start? I think Joshua Zirkzee will start up front. I think he's going to get it. I think that this could be Bruno, could be Mason Mount, but I feel like Bruno will just get the nod. I feel like he will always play when he can. get some match fitness in there, Rashford and Ahmad, I think, are pretty nailed on the wings at this point in time. In here, I would expect we see Casemiro. Kobbie Mainoo, I don't know. I have no clue on Kobbie Mainoo as to his fitness levels. I know he's been working hard, though, even though he returned late, obviously, as with the other English players and everybody else. But, yeah, I'm going to stick Collier in here. But this is a toss-up. This could be Eriksen. This could be Scott McTominay. It could be Kobbie Mainoo. So, could be Mainoo, could be Collier. I really don't know here. This will very likely to be Amos, and he's probably not in here, right? Yeah. So Harry Almas, I believe, will start there. I think Lissandro's going to play. I think Ten Hag kind of indicated that. I think Maguire will be fine. But otherwise, it'll be Johnny Evans. And then this will probably be Wan-Bissaka. That's what I would gather. Now, we'll see if he's in training, if he's pictured today and all of that. That today we're going to do the checks, so we'll know. But I think it'll be Wan-Bissaka. And then this should be Onana. And that's what I would expect. Now, if it wasn't Wan-Bissaka, I don't know who it would be. Surely it's too soon for Diogo Dalot. Surely, right? It's too soon for Diogo Dalot to come into the team. But maybe he's quite fit. Almas here. So the question marks are probably here. No, here and here. And then, just if it wasn't Maguire. If somehow, if he didn't make it in time or wasn't totally fit. And again, precautions. Precautions is the word. They want to just be careful. They don't want these players to risk themselves. Then perhaps you could see Sancho up here, but I feel like Xerxes working and he's ready, and Ten Hag's going to want to see what he can do. I could be wrong. Could be wrong there, but this is what I'd like to see. I'd like to see this with Almas. I think this is a good team. I mean, I'd like to change this, but this is what I think we will see, and I think that would be a pretty exciting team. So, yeah, let me know what you think about that. Last thing is, I'm mentioning this. It's because this is a regular season game finally, and not regular season. It's not it is a preseason, but I'm saying a regular time is what I meant. Regular time UK game. This TIFO place that I'm doing these watch-alongs on. It's really cool. Down here it has a scoreboard, a timer, keep up. There's a lot of things that they're adding to this platform for the launch of the season next week. There's going to be stats, lineups, all sorts of things. It's a really fun place to do a watch along. I did them for a couple preseason games. I will put the link below to join you. Use a code mupdate, MUPDATE, to sign up for now. It's free. There's no ads, there's no BS, there's nothing like that. It will be open just to watch without signing in later. Once it launches, it's still in beta, and I've been helping them and doing feedback and things like that to help improve the platform. But it's got really good foundations. It's a really interesting and something I think that's different for this space of watch-alongs, and is the only reason I do them, because I didn't do watch-alongs before. And I really like the idea of this, and when they have stats that go on the screen and lineups and tactics boards, you can bring people in for discussions. It'll be really fun. So come hang out with me to watch this one on Saturday, and I'll put the link below to do that now. No ads, no money, no subscription, no nothing. It's all free. So yeah, that would be great. That's what I have for today on this Friday. Sancho, PSG still alive, still maybe. Could that get us back in the discussions for Ugarte if they lower the price? As we know, he's a confirmed target. Yeah, maybe. Sander Berge, an option that we're definitely exploring, and I'm trying to find out more on that. If there's an injury to Luke Shaw, or if there are more concerns, could it change our strategy at the back in terms of our focus on signings? Potentially. The Wan-Bissaka thing, we're still waiting on conclusions. And the Community Shield is tomorrow. So thank you for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. See you all in the next one.